Hey y'all, Jill here, and welcome back to Whispering Willow Farm. So this week I have officially started my fall plants, which I'm feeling a little behind, but since we primarily grow in a high tunnel, I am fine. We do not heat our high tunnel, but it does allow us to extend our season, and then we create microclimates within our high tunnel. And so what I mean by that is we'll put up 9-gauge wire and hoops to the length, or width I should say, of our raised beds, and then we'll put row cover on it. So because we do this, we're really able to just create another layer of protection, keep that soil warm, and really be able to grow food year-round here on our farm. So we live in central Arkansas. We're growing in zone 7B, so we have a pretty long growing season anyways, and then we throw in primarily growing in a high tunnel, and you guys, we are golden here, which is great, because if you have been following along, you know I just had a baby 2 weeks ago, and so Mama's a little tired, I'm a little off of my schedule, and things are a little delayed. But that is okay. I did go ahead and start all of my brassicas. I started in a late round of cucumbers. I think we have enough days for those to mature and get a decent harvest before the frost. I'm going to be doing another round of green beans, which is obviously not frost hardy. And then we're going to be sowing all of our root vegetables. So we've got more radish, more carrots, and more beets going in the ground. So like I mentioned, since I am in such a long growing zone, I am able to actually start some of these things inside and still be okay that take a little bit longer to mature. So think about your brassicas like Brussels sprouts. Those are 120 days to maturity. I did start these inside, you can see here, but I'm still okay because I'm adding that season extension. But I had someone recently send me a DM and ask, why are you starting these inside? Why are you not just direct seeding these when we're moving into a shorter growing season? And that is an excellent question. And so the reason that I did not direct seed these things, which we will direct seed all of our root vegetables, but for everything else, I am still harvesting my late summer crops. So we still have green beans, we still have beets, we still have carrots, we still have tomatoes and peppers. So if I ripped all of those out now to direct seed these, I would be giving up that harvest. Instead, since I've got the season extension of the high tunnel and the row covers I plan on implementing later in the season, I decided to go ahead and start these things indoors. Let me keep harvesting all those tomatoes, all those peppers, all those things I can still be yielding since we've kind of taken a break the last few months. And then I'll just transplant those out once those plants are truly spent. But right now they are still producing, so I want to still be harvesting. But for those of you who maybe live in a shorter growing season, maybe you're not growing under, high tunnel or a greenhouse, any sort of protected culture. Here are 5 crops, 5 vegetables that you can plant right now and still yield a decent harvest. So one thing I like to just encourage people and remind people of, grow cool season crops in cool season and grow warm season crops in the warm season. A lot of times we try to manipulate this and we don't have that extra protection. And so we end up not being super successful. Not because we couldn't grow food, because trust me, you can grow food, but because we just weren't growing the appropriate crops within the appropriate season. So as we are starting to transition into fall, even though it's still 100 degrees here, as we are starting to transition, be mindful that you are choosing those varieties to plant now that are going to be able to withstand cooler temperatures when they get ready to mature. That's really what we're thinking about. What are those days to harvest, days to maturity? So if you are a beginner and you're saying, hey Jill, I love that you're going to tell me these 5 fall vegetables to plant right now, but I have no idea when their days to maturity are. I have no idea if I can get multiple successions in. I'm kind of a beginner. Or maybe you have had a successful summer garden and you're just wanting to dip your toes into the fall garden. You guys know fall and winter is my absolute favorite time to grow food. I would give up the summer garden. Yes, I said that again and again, to be able to grow a fall and a winter garden. Why is that? One, because it's more manageable for me with the weather. I have less pests, less disease, it's more enjoyable, and then there's more diversity in the garden. In the spring and the summer, we're growing the same crops. We do get a little bit burnt out, and so we're able to just grow more in the cooler temperatures, which allows us to be more diverse in what we are cooking. But if you want to press the easy button on this and create a crop plan, I highly recommend you guys go grab a free Seedtime account. It is what I'm doing all of my crop planting in. It's easy, fast, efficient, and the best part is, as you can see here, you put in your zip code, it auto-populates your growing zone, your estimated first and last frost. You can go in, you can choose your crop, choose your variety, and it will tell you based off of your zone when you need to direct seed it, transplant it, when you need to harvest it, if you have any sort of concerns of the frost and need to implement any sort of row cover. So for me, if you're a beginner and you're just unsure of what's going to work in your zone, go grab a free account. I'll put the link down in the description. It's super easy and it will walk you through this. Even as someone who's been growing food for over a decade, I find this really helpful when it comes to planning out my successions and how I can really kind of push the boundaries on how far I can be growing food for. All right, so without further ado, here are my top 5 fall vegetables you can be planting right now in August. 1, think about your root vegetables. These are extremely frost tolerant. You can actually even store them in the ground, which when we grow these things out in our raised bed garden, not in our high tunnels, we let the tops die down after the frost and we'll just go out there and harvest them as we need them. So not only are they great frost hardy fall, varieties you can grow, you can also leave them in the ground so you don't have to worry about storage. So what I mean by those root vegetables, think carrots. Carrots are a great one to be planting right now to harvest throughout the fall and the winter. Radishes are actually a good one because their days to maturity is so short. You can get multiple successions in before the frost, but we have also tested this. Let the tops completely die down and let them store in the ground as well, and they're one of those crops that do really well. I also recommend beets because you can harvest beets at multiple sizes. You don't have to let them get super big and mature to be able to do something with them. So why not go ahead and plant them in the ground now? You can let them store in the ground. They're easy to store in cold storage. If you want to know more about that, I've got a video up here on storing root veggies in cold storage to last for up to a year, which I really recommend because you can be growing these things just a couple times a year and really stock up on your root vegetables. So what you can be planting right now, think about those root veggies. I would even say that rutabagas, turnips, things like that can fall into that category. But for sure, carrots are going to be great. They're going to taste sweeter. Your radishes are going to have a much milder taste, not spicy as if you were to grow them in the spring or the summertime. So root veggies all day long. Go order your seeds. Start planting them right now. The next fall vegetable I would recommend planting right now are those winter greens. And there are a lot of hardy winter greens. One that we do a lot and I think I really recommend because it is super versatile as far as how you preserve it is kale. So winter kale not only is great, takes on a much sweeter taste once the cooler temperatures start to creep in, but it's easy to freeze. You can make kale chips. The more you harvest, the more it will produce. Again, can withstand a light frost. And so I really recommend growing and planting kale right now for your fall garden. Another easy top fall vegetable to plant right now is spinach. I'm actually going to be going in next week and direct seeding all my spinach. This is one of those greens that we grow most of the time in the fall and the winter because it does so well. Temperatures can get super, super low. It's not going to affect your spinach at all. If anything, it's just going to give it a boost. You're not going to have to worry about it bolting. Again, when I am thinking about what I'm growing in my garden, I think about different ways I can use it. So spinach, we are putting in our smoothies a lot. We are juicing a lot and using that. You can wilt it and put it in different pastas. There's just so much versatility with it. You can freeze it. The list goes on and on and on. And so that's something to be mindful of when you're thinking about what to grow. Think about what you eat. Think about how you plan to preserve it and what are easy, quick ways for preservation. Well, for me, I'm thinking about easy, quick ways for preservation, especially in this season. But when you're thinking about things to plant right now, find those winter hardy, frost hardy greens and get those in the ground. All right, and the last fall vegetable I encourage you guys to plant right now is broccoli. Broccoli is a part of the brassica family. Here on the farm, we are growing broccoli, multiple different varieties of cauliflower, multiple different varieties of cabbages, Brussels sprouts. But broccoli is one of those that does really well as the temperatures drop, can withstand frost. We have also grown and implemented all of these before we were using our high tunnel, which is something I like to encourage people with. But it's one of those that can withstand being grown in cooler temperatures, and in fact it thrives. Not only can you harvest that main head off of it, but most varieties, we're growing the Emperor variety, will put off these side shoots. So even once you've harvested that main head, leave the plant in the soil and harvest all of these side shoots for several weeks. So you're able to get a lot from that one plant, because most of the time they always are producing those additional shoots, which make great. Usually we're not preserving those, we're going and preserving the main heads, whether we're freezing them, which is typically what we're doing, and then we're saving all those side shoots to be able to harvest fresh to cook with dinner. It's super versatile, super healthy, lots of different ways you can put it up and preserve it. But I highly recommend planting broccoli right now if you're trying to figure out what to grow for your fall garden. Now granted, I just shared 5 of my top vegetables to plant right now for the fall. You guys, I'm growing way more than 5. There are way more than 5. I would just say if you are new and a beginner to a fall garden, these are my top 5 because they're relatively easy to grow. You can direct seed a lot of this and not have to start from seed and transplant them out, so you're going to have less supplies and materials on hand that you need. I am starting all of this from seed, like I mentioned, and transplanting them out later, so I can extend that summer garden just a little bit more. But if you have never grown a garden in the fall, you guys, I highly recommend. Now, there are some things as you're growing throughout the fall and the winter that change, right? We have shorter daylight hours, which means that kind of affects the plants and how they grow and how fast that they grow. So there are things to be mindful of. If you are committed to doing this and you want just an extra little boost and help in this, I have a winter garden growing guide for $5, and I share with you some of my favorite varieties to grow in the winter, why succession planting is super important for a successful fall and winter garden, and I talk through the fundamentals of what changes in the winter time, how that affects your plants, and how to be mindful of that to still have a successful harvest. So if you're interested in this winter growing guide, you can catch it down below. Again, it's $4.97. Super cheap, just a good resource for you guys. So I hope you guys enjoyed this quick, short, top 5 fall vegetables I recommend you guys grow. If you never have grown a fall garden before, comment down below what is stopping you so that I can create content and videos to really encourage you guys and share with you how easy it is to grow a fall garden. It's kind of my mission to convince everyone to start growing food year round, learn how to grow and eat with the seasons. And I don't know, my family's just had so much success with it that I really think you guys will enjoy it too. Granted, if you're in those super cold zones, you are kind of limited, but if you're in zone 6, 7, 8, 9, there's a lot of versatility. There's a lot of things we can be growing year round, and I really encourage you guys to take a chance and do it. So don't forget the links down below for Seedtime, the free crop planner, for my winter growing guide is all down in the description. But thank you guys for hanging out with me, and I'll talk to you soon.